Welcome to today's South-South News program. I'm Bill Miller. One of the main goals of South-South News is to focus attention on unique and innovative economic, social, and developmental activities that are taking place, especially in developing countries. Today, we're going to talk to a gentleman who's very knowledgeable, who's doing some really exciting things in Cape Verde. And my guest today is the ambassador from Cape Verde to the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Lima. Ambassador Lima, welcome to today's South-South News.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being with me today. We're going to talk about some of the unique things that you're doing in Cape Verde, but let's talk a little bit about Cape Verde. Where is it located? How large is it? How many people do you have? What are some of your main industries?
Cape Verde is an archipelago of 10 islands off the west coast of Africa. And it's a country with a long story because we was colonized by Portugal, the first European on the seas. So we served at the time as an entrepot of slaves coming from continent to the Americas, and now we are independent since '75. We have very good relationship with Portugal and other countries of Europe and America. And we are, in fact, a very strategic point in the world because we are between three continents, Americas, Europe and Africa. So we are a point in the globalization that is important for commerce, for trade. And we think that in the future we will have a role to do in all this globalization. So Cape Verde is a small country with 500,000 people inside the country, but around the world, because we have a large diaspora, even here in this country, and we are around 1 million. It's a small dimension of people, but we have a great heart. And the culture of Cape Verde is progressively well known in the world, and we try to effectively to give something to the world. We think that a little country is also able to give and to offer something to the world. And at this moment in the world of confrontation, of conflicts we try to be a very stable country. We developed our democracy, we developed our stability, and we try to improve in our economic and financial situation. And I can say that from '75, in our independence, when we had only $300 per capita, at this moment, we are around 3,000 and something. So it shows that in 35 years, this little country on the west coast of Africa tried to be one of the most interesting country in Africa in terms of growth, in terms of growing in economy. So, and growing in democracy too. So I think that Cape Verde as some succeed in some areas, and we think that we can offer to the world the example of a teeny country that don't have any natural resources, but because of his politic and his vision, realized a lot of beautiful things that can be taken as examples for other parts of the world.
Now, you're an active player at the United Nations. You're very active in the Group of 77. We're going to get into that in just a few moments. Before we leave, though, what are a few of the industries? I know you have a rich culture. You also you're famous for the coffee you grow, and I think there are some other things. It's a fueling point, too. You mentioned the strategic location. There are a lot of planes, aircraft that stop to be refueled in Cape Verde, do they not? What are some of your major industries?
You know, in Cape Verde, we have a lot of difficulties because of the country is divided in 10 islands. So it makes the things very difficult. Everything is very expensive because we have to import a lot of our consumption things. So Cape Verde tried to develop fisheries, to develop some kind of agriculture, but what is the main vector of progress at this moment is the industry of tourism. And in tourism, we try to put the visitors directly in contact with some islands which are very good in tourism. So we developed 4 airports, international airports in our islands. In 75, we had only 1 international airport in Ilha do Sal. At this moment, we have in São Vicente, in Santiago, in Sal, and in Boa Vista. So that shows the capacity in doing infrastructure for the development, infrastructure for the progress, and developing at the same time the capacity of the hotels to receive the tourism. So this is one of our main progress is the last years.
Now, you mentioned about tremendous growth, especially the per capita income. I think in 36 years, you went from $300 some to over $3,000 some, so which is a remarkable increase. In 2000, the countries of the world met at the United Nations. They developed the Millennium Development Goals. And these goals, there were 8 of them. They're very quantifiable, they're measurable, they're very practical. And the majority of the countries around the world have signed on to them. In fact, all the countries have really, and the vast majority of non-governmental organizations. In a previous conversation, you and I were talking, and I remember you had mentioned, we were talking about universal primary education for students, the elimination, or to reduce poverty by 50%, to promote sustainable development, to deal with climate change. And we were talking, and I remember you had mentioned that Cape Verde was one of the countries, probably one of the very few, that would probably achieve all 8 of the Millennium Development Goals. What are some of the goals that you're really, I know you're focusing on all 8 of them, but what are 2 or 3 of them that you're really focusing on, and what are you doing to achieve those goals?
Well, you know, what I was telling you at the beginning is that when you have a government who have vision, and when it try to really be a correspond to the feeling of the people. You try to do the things in time and to fulfill all these goals, because these goals of Millennium are the goals for development, and we try to do this in a very timing and good with a vision of what we was doing. So in Cape Verde, we succeed, for example, to decrease the poverty very substantially. I can't give you the number at this moment, but we have no doubt that we achieve this goal. In the equity of gender, at this moment, for example, I can tell you that even our government is going to, the new government is going to be in place in March, because we had elections and the party in power won the election for the 3rd time. But in equity and gender, we had, for example, a government of 8 female for 7 male. And in the parliament and in the society in general, we try to effectively improve the role of the woman in the society. And this is why we think that on this equity also, we are going to achieve the Millennium Goal. And for example, in education, we have exactly a good balance between little girl and little boys at the school. And what we can say is that in our country, in Cape Verde, the difference between men and women at this moment, despite the mentalities who are difficult to improve rapidly, we can say that at this moment the equity and balance of gender is good, and we are going to achieve the MDGs. On the problem of diminishing the mortality of women at children births and children, we are also going to have this. So I think to reach this goal, I think that, and my Prime Minister said it earlier, we are going before 2015 to achieve all the goals. Perhaps not the poverty, because it is something that need a long time, but we are decreasing the population under the poverty level, diminishing considerably. But what is interesting also in this, in all this progress we see in Cape Verde, it is that we try to transform Cape Verde, really transforming Cape Verde in all the fields. And what we succeed is in infrastructure, in education, in health, in justice, and all the fields are at this moment in progress. And the new government that is going to take place on March is going certainly to improve all this. And we think that in 2015, we are going to be among the few countries to reach the goals of the millennium, yes.